Tommy Innit went viral on YouTube at just 16 years old.
Kill a sheep, quick! Yeah!
Tommy exploded in popularity in 2021, amassing 10 million YouTube subscribers as a member of the Dream SMP, a widely popular Minecraft stream. His life changed for the better and for the worst almost overnight.
Some days I'd wake up and check my daily sub count that day, and if it wasn't 10,000 or above, I'd feel depressed that day.
Earlier this year, Tommy suffered a cruel twist of fate known as testicular torsion, a medical emergency where circulation to one testicle is cut off, resulting in surgery and a unique experience with the NHS in the UK.
He says, right, look kid, your right testicle could be dying. And I go, when was the death of balls on the tape? When was that even possible? And he goes, it's possible.
Our conversation was one that was certainly all over the place.
Huge variety on this podcast, isn't there? We go from balls to Minecraft to balls.
Even to the point where an earthquake happened. Should we evacuate? But that didn't stop us from discussing some more of the serious aspects surrounding his mental health, even diving into the difficult subject of losing his dear friend, hero, and fellow Minecraft creator, Technoblade.
About like grandparents dying, like dogs die of old age, and then when someone dies and they're just like not meant to, and he's like, it doesn't make any sense.
I feel tremendously blessed to have enjoyed such a deep yet hilarious conversation with Tommy, who despite his tremendous success on YouTube as a young man, I think is on the cusp of a successful and fulfilling career as a comedian, filmmaker, and yes, Minecraft streamer. Please welcome Tommy Innit to the Checkup podcast. I heard you say on an interview that what makes you special is your confidence, your comedy, your editing, and your balls.
Why did I say that? Because that sounds like the least humble I've ever been in my...
I believe it was on Colin and Samir.
Oh, yeah.
Actually, I think it started with you being introspective after Dream told you, like, what makes you special. Go back to what makes you special.
So I wasn't just rambling about me. It used to be my balls.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. So tell me, do you still have all of those qualities?
Well, things have changed in the past 6 months, Mike.
Really?
How in the loop are you about my crown jewels?
I'm in the loop as much as the rest of social media is. So I've heard that perhaps things have taken a twist for the worse.
Oh, wow. And you're doing wordplay. Well, yeah, they have taken a twist, taken a turn down a horrible rabbit hole. So, about, I want to say 6 months ago, I can recount the story because I've told it to so many doctors.
Really?
Yeah. And they always ask for the story from the beginning, every time. It's like, can't just one of you write it down and then you can tell the rest of them?
We need to do better with that.
Yeah, that would be great. Do
you find that you have to tell the story before the doctor even walks in and then again when the doctor walks in?
They come in, they fiddle, and then they go, so what's happened? And I go, maybe you should have asked that before. They fiddle
first?
No, you know what? Oh, well, God forbid I throw the NHS under the bus. No, they don't. NHS do not fiddle first. Pardon me.
If I make a T-shirt, fiddle first sounds like a
fiddle. I maybe wouldn't sell that actually, but just that was some friend to friend advice.
Okay, fair. Friends fiddle first. Okay,
yeah. Well, again, still sort of terrible, but no, yeah. I just so you know as well, I sound a bit under the weather today. Okay. I did sort of 2 nights ago woke up with a terrible fever. I was at most of the night, so in a twist of irony, I almost had to cancel Dr. Mike because I was sick. Oh, but what I've done is I've pushed through. I've drugged up, and now I'm here and ready.
It kind of makes sense because you're coming to see the doctor when you're feeling a little under the weather.
I am, and what better doctor than to sit and talk for hours?
Exactly. Well, if it's going to be hours, I'm going to be really excited. But it sounds like we only have you for a short period of time.
Yeah, I've got a show on later today in New York on Times Square.
Yeah, so before we get to the balls of the matter, tell me what's going on with the show.
Yeah, so it's How to Be a Billionaire. I've got, I think, 8 shows left now around America, and it's like me explaining my life story, how to be a billionaire, sort of like a comedy show, retelling my life, kind of like a more theatrical sort of play than it's got.
So is it like an improv mixed show where you're getting audience participation, or are you more sketch comedy?
It has a bit of that. It's kind of quite unique. It's sort of like a YouTube video, but in real life. Whoa. In England, we have pantomimes, which are quite similar to. That's not like a thing in America. But yeah, it's been going really great.
How do you pivot off of making YouTube streaming content to saying, I want to do live comedy?
By accident. You can't. Okay. Sort of my dad was like, why don't we try this? And I was like, really, Dad? And then I tried it and went, oh, this is awesome.
Really? What do you like about it?
Oh, I just love hearing everyone's voice in real life and being able to hear them laugh and being on the stage and coming up with jokes on the fly and having my scripted ones that I can I'm ready to say and ready to hear everyone. I just love it so much.
Has anything surprised you about going on tour and doing this live? Whether it's that it's more difficult, it's more fun than you thought?
You have to really, this is probably sort of a medical way to look at that. You have to really sort of manage your high level emotions. Because it's really weird because on tour, you sort of, everyone's taking care of everything for you. So it's like, you know, sometimes you get anxious about, shit, I need to do all these chores, I need to cook myself a meal, I need to do the, what's it called, the bed sheets, I need to do all these things. You just don't have to do that on tour. But before the show, you sort of have these big high levels of anxiety that you're going to then channel into going on stage. So it's quite unusual in the way you manage your emotions.
I felt like a lot of YouTubers have tried to transition either to movies, to television, to live shows, and a lot of them struggle when it's not just them and their camera.
Yeah.
But it seems like you're quite comfortable with that. Where did that comfort come from?
I'm a bit of a theatre kid, to be honest with you, man. So it's mainly that.
Okay, so you did that growing up in school?
Yeah, I did bits of that, and then sort of over the past few years on YouTube, sort of defined that I like doing comedy and telling jokes. And I've always found that on Twitch, like when I'm doing my live streams, I've always got such a different thing out of it than all of my other mates that were doing it. So then when it turned out that really what I love about Twitch translated so much to live stuff.
When you say one of your strengths is comedy, what kind of comedy do you think you excel at?
I guess it's kind of like being myself or an exaggerated version of that. And I think because of Twitch, I'm quite like quick off the cuff now. But I've really gotten into writing over the past year or two and sort of writing jokes and sitting down with mates and going, could this be funnier? Could this be that? So,
do you ever get into one of those situations? Because I definitely do. A lot of my content initially has been very reaction based and improv-esque.
Yeah.
And now that I'm trying to get into more production writing like you are,
sure.
I'm finding myself rewriting, and never being happy with the final product. Because when it's live, you just kind of say it and it is what it is.
Yeah.
Do you find yourself in that pattern?
Yeah, I have found that. I found that difficult to get through. With stand-up, because I've just started doing stand-up. This show isn't that, but sort of separately in England to like 20 people in a basement in London been doing stand-up where
just
none of
open mic.
Yeah, I've just started doing open mics.
You have balls.
Oh, well, not anymore, but we'll get to that. But sort of, and that has been really cool because you do it and you sort of write it down and you go, I think this is going to work. And some of it, people laugh way harder at than you think they're going to. And sometimes they just don't for a while.
How does that feel?
Not great, but it's good because you go off stage and go, cool, that bit's cut. So you sort of gradually refine until eventually you have that sort of piece where you know if they're not laughing, it's kind of their fault and not mine because I've put so much effort into testing it with so many different crowds. I found with videos though, I would just run it by friends who have made similar kinds of videos who I get advice off, but I haven't done many scripted videos in honesty.
In doing the live shows, whether it's stand-up or the show that you're here on tour for, do you find that there's a world that might exist where you don't do social media as much and now transition fully into this world?
You know, it's funny. I always used to say, no, I could never imagine not doing YouTube. I can never imagine not. And then you start doing stuff that isn't, and you go, oh, this is
rewarding for very different reasons.
Yeah. And I love YouTube, but it doesn't it's sort of, once you've done it for a while, it's sort of the same. It doesn't get particularly more challenging. It's just the same thing. And I really love that. But I could imagine spending a lot. I never quit YouTube, but I already am spending much less time doing social media or even thinking about it.
You'd Emma Chamberlain it. I like to say it that way.
Sure.
Where she's on YouTube, but like, is she on YouTube?
Yeah, I'd love to be, or like Bo Burnham's my inspiration and sort of just following my heart and what I want to do. And I love that he went from stand-up to making a film to doing a weird Netflix special thing. Like, I think that's so great.
So is that currently, like, if you had to say, what's my biggest aspiration that I can get in the next 5 years, what is that for you?
Probably a Netflix stand-up special. Would
Really?
be really cool. Yeah, I've really fallen in love with stand-up the past 6 months.
Who do you listen to stand-up wise? Well, obviously Bo Burnham.
Oh yeah, I could go for it. Bo Burnham, John Mulaney, I really
Okay,
like.
yep.
Really like John Mulaney. Mike Birbiglia. I really like Daniel Sloss.
Okay.
Really like Steve Martin. I've just gotten really into
Wow.
George Carlin. I've been
Oh my
watching lots of
God.
George Carlin.
You're like in my generation. Actually, it's probably before even my generation.
I try and watch like all of them.
All of
James Acaster I really like, and I've watched loads of their specials. I've watched some Dave Chappelle, but
Okay.
his older stuff, not his newer stuff.
Killing Them
'cause it's-
Softly and stuff.
Yeah. Watched a bit of Chris Rock. I've watched a lot of stuff.
It's clear that you're really getting it.
I really enjoy it.
Actually, last week, this is pretty interesting. I didn't tell anybody. I went to Kevin Hart's award that he got from the Mark Twain Award from the Kennedy Center in Washington, D.C.
Oh, wow.
And when he was getting this Lifetime Achievement Award, the comedy gods were all there. Seinfeld, Chris Rock, Chappelle.
Wow.
They all performed. They all gave
Really?
like
And
5,
you
10
saw them
minutes.
all?
Yeah, we saw them all live. And it's going to air actually on Netflix in mid-May, so you'll see
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But being there live is like really just special.
Wow,
seeing
how
it
big
all.
was the room?
Kennedy Center is probably 2,500.
Wow,
Maybe
yeah.
3,000, like
not-
Beacon Theater-esque, right, Sam?
For like,
yeah,
for like three of
It's an
those guys.
opera house. That's
wow,
like- yeah.
that is special.
But
wow.
it was really cool to be able to see it live, and he got emotional, because this is
Yeah.
a genuine award where his friends came out, and it would be cool to see you do the same and get your social media friends that you started off with to come support you once you're getting that award.
Yeah. Oh man. Yeah.
Obviously,
so
we're
it's a
thinking-
little while away.
Yeah.
At least like a month or two. But
You got a dream,
yeah,
right?
totally. Yeah,
it started with dream, and now you got a dream.
Yeah. No, totally. Yeah. But yeah, like yeah. So I'm loving doing that. Really, I am.
Yeah, stand-up comedy is hard, and the fact that there's so many ups and downs in it probably makes it more interesting than YouTube. Whereas like YouTube, once you get to a consistent place, you kind of know what works.
Yeah.
And that kind of gets monotonous. Like you're like, oh, it's repetitive. We're doing kind of the
Yeah.
same thing, and it's successful and it's great, and you're making people happy. But at some points, you want to pivot and grow and do something different.
Yeah, and I think I had many years where YouTube never was the same thing, and then probably the past 2-3 years, it's been like I still love it, but I don't feel a compulsion of a direction to go this way. Whereas years before, it was like I need to do that, then this, then this, then this, then this.
Do you think there's a world that because you've been successful so fast, that's a reason why YouTube has become less interesting?
Yeah, probably. Yeah, I mean, it was all in the pandemic as well, so I was inside. So I'm sure a lot of why I love live performing is because it's like the antithesis of lockdown. It's a load of people in a room, in a communal experience, doing the same thing.
Yeah, that's interesting, because had you not, let's say, went through 4 to 10 million in 1 year
Yeah.
in subscriber counts, like if you went from 4 to 5, would you be still interested in grinding to get to the 10, to get to the 12?
Yeah, I think the main thing for me was that my YouTube's always been about like doing jokes, and I've really enjoyed, like ever since I was a kid, I've really enjoyed that. And even when I was grinding sub count, I was spending a lot of time thinking, how can I make this joke funnier? How can I do a better tweet or a funnier TikTok? And once you realize all I've actually been thinking this whole time is how can I get funnier?
Yeah.
You go,
Oh, that's
fucking-
what was giving me
obviously I should do
happiness.
stand up. Like, yeah, this is for me. Yeah.
Yeah. Did you ever get into that, the treadmill of life where you're like, I just want more subs, I just want more views?
Yep. Yeah.
Yeah. How'd you deal with that?
I find it when I like dedicate to a thing, I can work quite hard at it. So I spent a lot of time speaking to a lot of different YouTubers and asking them like, what should I do? And then they give me some advice and I follow it. And so I like last year did loads of YouTube shorts and got like loads of subscribers doing that, and made videos that I wasn't necessarily that into over the past few years. And in the end, even though it's like rewarding, you go, I've done so much of that. I did like a YouTube short that got like 70 million views. But of all the past few years, the time I felt the most rewarded was doing a stand-up routine for 5 minutes in a basement in London. And instead of delivering it like Tommy Innit, doing all this, I sort of delivered it like this. And it got double the laughs. And that's when I was like, this is amazing. And so I felt, once I stopped like listening to what other people were advising me to do and really spent some time to go, okay, what do I want to do? That was when things really started to turn around.
Who, you mentioned you went to some folks who had successful situations on YouTube. Who gave you the best advice?
Oh man, and this is funny. I spoke to a lot of YouTubers, and all of them have been very analytics-based advice, but like very analytical advice. And the best advice was some of the best advice I've ever gotten was from Logan Paul, who you would assume is very analytical, but he's actually really into like the art of YouTube and really like sophisticated with it, and that was really shocking.
Okay.
So he's given me some really amazing advice. I find myself rereading it, being like, yeah, because it's all about like enjoying it and putting your passion into it. Again, really surprising.
Wow. Okay. So he was encouraging you to take the art aspect of it more seriously.
He was, he was sort of saying like, you're not going to
Like, give me the advice. Tell me.
I just remember it being very profound, like how sort of he was like, there's all these things outside of YouTube that you can do, and about sort of evolving and staying true to what you do, and sort of how he brainstorms. But nowadays, I find that the main person I watch is film directors and David Lynch and Steven Spielberg, and them talking about films. That's what really rocks my boat now.
All right. Well, now I'm going to give you the harder question. Who gave you the worst advice?
I don't really think any like.
No, you don't.
Okay,
Don't politically correct this answer.
Okay. The thing that I found was after a while, a lot of the advice blends into sort of similar things.
Okay.
And a lot of the themes are like, how can you get more views, or how can we spend time thinking about how to get more views?
Okay.
And I think that just for me directed me away from what I actually want to do, which is like enjoy it and put in like, I think the reason I got here is because I really enjoyed it. And no one gave me any like terrible advice that misguided me ever. And I like, YouTubers are all really smart and really great. And the fact that they even sit down and help me is really cool.
You know, it's funny. You mentioned Logan Paul, and you're like, he was actually very aspirational and inspirational with his advice to you. I've had some indirect interactions with him, and actually him and I sat next to each other at the Streamy Awards one year, and I had a very peculiar interaction with him where we sat next to one another, and I shook his hand, and I'm like, hey man, nice to meet you. He goes, we've met before. And I'm like, oh no, I mean, I'm aware who you are, and it's really cool to meet you. He goes, no, we've met before. And he kind of did one of these power moves, and I'm like, guess we met before. And that's been my pretty much
he was
only
probably
IRL
on drugs, but
oh yeah, he said that to you, right?
and for the record, I hold no ill will to Mr. Beast for that, but I'm sure he can acknowledge that it is amusing to tell a 16-year-old those words. And
you got to know where everyone's advice is coming from. That it's coming from their own life experiences, right?
Yeah, man.
So, and he's had so much success that his life, first of all, being on social media is not natural for the human mind.
Really?
Yeah, because think about it, if you're in a group, an in-group, you want them to like you. You want to be safe. You want to be cooperating with this in-group. And usually you can look around the room if you've offended somebody. That's why stand-up is so powerful, because you can get that instant response. But now when you have to think about millions of people having very drastically different reactions, our human mind can't really compute that.
It's quite hard.
And it becomes very unnatural. And that's why I feel like there's so much mental health anguish surrounding social media. And I've had it myself where it's like, oof, how do you manage the fact that maybe 80% of people support you, 20% of people absolutely hate you?
I do find it weird that everyone is anxious all the time.
You do find it weird?
Well, because of this thing. I'm like, why are we all...
Well, you think if social media wasn't a thing, we wouldn't be anxious?
I think we'd be less anxious.
Oh, yeah. Well, don't you think pouring gasoline on already an anxious group of people is going to make it worse?
Where did the gasoline...
The social media is the gasoline.
I suppose, yeah. I mean, I'm no doctor, but I do think that it's probably not. I mean, I sort of really agree. I think Burnham's done some really great takes on it. And I think his film 8th Grade is the best depiction of like, so this is what we're all feeling. And now I'm watching...
What was the film? Give me a breakdown.
So it's about, he was really struggling with anxiety to do with social media and the performance and having an audience and that, and it was really making him panicky. So before Inside, he sort of went, I'm going to do a film about it, and was sort of trying to figure out who is the most similar to him to tell that story. And he realized it was sort of teenage girls, because he looked at sort of boys who made YouTube videos, and it was all talking about Fortnite, and then girls were all talking about their feelings. This is a really brilliant film about a girl who is just starting 8th grade and is anxious and sort of trying to be their best self, and a lot of it is coming from social media and trying to fit in and the sense of belonging, and it's just really powerful. And you go, oh geez, this is what we're all going through, but this is like such an... It was just a very no one ever really plays back to you your own sort of. At least for me, that's how I felt, and I was like, this is.
Did you feel isolated when you're having your moments of success?
I mean, I'm quite lucky because a lot, like my most sort of, not turmoil, what's the word? Turbulent years. My most sort of turbulent years were when I was living with my parents. So I felt as isolated as you can do living with your parents and your 2 dogs, and we all really get along. So yeah, but it was pretty peculiar. And also my success came with the Dream SMP, and it was around then. So I had a very unusual experience of 30 other people blowing up and getting millions of followers with me at the same time.
When you say that those times were turbulent, what made them turbulent?
Well, I'll talk about this in the show, but there was we were getting doxxed and stuff, so people were coming to our house and shit was happening, which I was never really prepared for. And I think it was as well the responsibility. Like I was a 16-year-old who now sort of people were looking for every type of view on everything, and I was like an idiot from Nottingham and still am. So I found that quite challenging to be aware of the amount of responsibility and influence I suddenly had.
Did you ever make a misstep with that?
Yes. Yeah, a lot.
How did you handle that?
My mum I'd usually go, Mum, there's 250,000 people and I'm #1 trending on Twitter, Mum, and I don't really understand what I've done. And then she would help me write an apology. I'd go, explain to me why everyone's cross again, Mum. And she'd explain it. I go, again, and then she'd explain it. I go, okay, that seems reasonable. I wish they'd stop shouting at me though. And then I'd tweet that, and then it would go away, and then it'd happen a week later. So there's a lot of that.
So it's like you were living life on fast forward because you were just like in super speed, right? Most people, they'll mess up once a year, something bad happens in school or whatever, but you're like every week.
Like once a week, I was getting dogpiled up. But I think that is just the internet. And when you're at the, sort of the height in the peak of COVID that I was at, you do have there's a real dogpile culture. So it was like, okay, I guess we're doing this. I think in the moment as well, we didn't have time to pause and be like, is this all right? We were just trying to make sure, there weren't millions of people thinking I was a dick.
True. Did you get a chance to interact with Bo Burnham at all? You've talked to so many creators.
Yeah, he messaged me.
Oh, really?
What I do to people when I'm a big fan is I send them an email going, hello, I love you and I'd like to chat to you because I think you're brilliant. And I did that when I was 16 to Bo Burnham.
So I'm kind of offended you didn't do that to me, but that's okay.
And then I did that to Bo Burnham, and he messaged me on Instagram going, keep killing it. And I was like, yes. And only as the years gone by, I've gone, holy shit.
But no notes from the conversations.
No, it was a very brief conversation. But yeah.
And when you're having...
that was cool enough for me to brag to all of my friends for the next 3 years about.
I mean, that's what makes social media special. It reminds you of how small the world is to some degree.
Yeah.
But also how not real social media is. Because like you said, at one point you have all these people dogpiling on you and judging you, and yet everyone around you in your immediate circle is like, dude, you're fine. Like, you're young, you're making mistakes.
Yeah.
How weird is it?
It's peculiar
in these two very drastic states.
I don't think it's amazing for your mental health, but it's also, I'm very lucky with my support circle, so I've been sort of all right.
Well, that's a good mental health fact there from the doctor side of my stuff, that the #1 factor that decides whether or not you have a good outcome when you have a mental health struggle, whether it's anxiety, depression, is whether or not you have a social support system in place. Yeah.
And at the beginning, so all of that really got intense around sort of November of 2021. I started doing therapy in January of 2021. And I remember for like 4 months, my mum was like, Tom, you're turning into a child star. You should do therapy. And I was like, Mum, I'm not broken, Mum. I'm not going to do therapy. I hate therapy. I'm fine. And then I finally did it. And he was like, you might have anxiety. And I was like, what the hell is that? And then I learned what that was and went, oh, this is brilliant. And so I'm very into note-taking with like YouTube advice. You're like, so therapy is like that to the max and learning about your brain. So I it was really weird because I talked about it in 2021 at the peak, and everyone was like, guys, you've sent this boy into therapy. And I was like, no, my mum just really told me I should.
Ironically, I'm significantly older than you, but the mid 2021 was my first time going to therapy also.
Right.
Yeah, so I had a similar experience in that regard.
You're sick in it.
You know what it was? I'll tell you what my experience was, and then I'm curious about yours. For me, I'm a doctor, right? So I kind of know what advice you would give someone who's struggling with anxiety.
Yeah.
And I would be giving myself that advice, which is essentially cognitive behavioral therapy, where you take your irrational thought, I'm a failure, I'll never do better, like all these thoughts that frequently make us feel really terrible. And I would talk back to those thoughts, or I would write down the more rational thought. Like I failed here, but I could always do better, that kind of stuff. And I just kept doing that in a loop. So when I went to therapy, I'm like, what are they going to tell me? Don't I already know?
Yeah.
And I go in and I'm like, look, I've been doing the therapy on myself and it's not working. And her advice was, stop doing therapy. You're reliving your like anxiety and trauma that you had with this situation over and over and over again by force. Like you've outused the benefit. You know, carrots are healthy, but you eat enough of them, you turn orange. I was turning orange by over therapizing
too much water
myself.
that I had to go to hospital.
You drank too much water?
That I had to go to hospital.
Because of that?
No, it was just you said that carrot analogy. And I thought,
tell me about the water.
To me. I was very interested. Sorry, you would.
My therapy is much less interesting than your water.
I was. Okay.
Come on, tell me about the water.
I was dared by my mates to drink 14 cups of water when I was like 12, and we just kept drinking water.
As a joke?
As a joke, yeah. And then I just kept going, and I drank like 14 of these in about 30 minutes, and then my mum came to pick me up, and I was blue. So we went to the hospital, and I just sat.
You had like electrolyte abnormality?
I don't even know what it was, but they were like, that could have fucked up your brain if you had a bit more. And I was like, oh, geez. Again, I'm remembering that I was quite young.
I mean, that wasn't that long ago.
Yeah. Well.
12? 8 years ago?
Oh, yeah, when you say it like that.
Yeah, it wasn't that long ago.
Oh, man. That's quite a long time.
I started my YouTube channel 8 years ago.
Wow.
Well, 7.
I was in hospital drinking loads of water. I'm a massive wee though. So.
But that's what can happen. So basically, your body's electrolytes decide everything because your muscles work off of electrolytes, your nerve firings work off electrolytes. And when you throw that balance off, whether by consuming too much, too little electrolytes, or adding or removing a ton of water, that can dilute things. And obviously you had some kind of medical condition happen as a result. Do you know what the medical term for over drinking water is?
Stupid.
Not very,
I don't.
More Latin.
Oh, water drinko. Latin,
not Spanish.
Possibly.
No, it's polydipsia.
Oh, wow. Mm-hmm. That's fun, isn't it?
Do you know what the when you go into the bathroom too much, you're peeing too much called?
What?
Well, if polydipsia,
I do. Hyperactive bladder.
Oh, okay,
bladder,
that's fair.
Yeah.
I was going to say polyuria, but
yeah. I also,
You also peed a lot?
Still. I pee loads.
Oh, you have hyperactive bladder.
Why don't we go through my medical?
Yeah, tell me your medical history. Pretend I just walked in. Hi, I'm Dr. Varshovsky.
Hey, doctor.
Pleasure to meet you.
Mike.
Tommy.
Tom, Innit.
Tom, Innit. And date of birth to verify two
9th
patients.
of April 2004.
9th of April 2004. Oh, my God. Hold on a second. 4 days.
Yeah, I'm 20 in 4 days.
Wow. Wait, I thought you... Oh, I saw a TikTok that you said you were turning 20 in a month, and I assumed we're already here.
Yeah. I think I got that day wrong.
Oh. Okay, so then I blame you. Okay, so in 4 days, happy early birthday.
Thank you so much.
If you
Dr.
make
Mike.
it despite all the earthquakes and everything that's
Jesus,
trying to set you off your path. Now that I have two patient identifiers, please tell me your medical history.
Well, I had sepsis when I was young. That was pretty bad.
Bacterial infection.
Yeah, but that's the bad one, isn't it?
Yeah, going through the blood. Yeah.
Yeah. So I had that from a little cut in my knee.
Ooh.
And then they nearly got me, but they saved me.
They?
It was all right. Sepsis. I don't know why I called sepsis. They nearly
Oh,
got
the
me.
bacteria.
Yeah. That was quite scary, I think, for my parents. I was pretty out of it because I had sepsis.
Sepsis, yeah.
And then...
Were you in shock? Septic shock?
It came in through my leg, and then I remember going to bed one night and being like, Mum, my leg hurts. And she, as all British mums do, said, go to bed. So
Good advice, usually.
All right. I went, all right, Mum. And I woke up, and I go, oh, Mum, I don't think this is all right. And then she went, oh, shit. And then we went to the doctor, and they went, Jesus Christ.
Was it septic arthritis? Like, did it go into the joint?
It was like there, I got my cut or something.
And then it just...
Yeah. And, yeah.
The
So I had
bacteria
that.
threw a party.
Yeah, I broke my collarbone once, so I still have that little lump there.
Oh, okay. How did that happen? Outstretched hand? Fall?
I fell off a hammock onto mud, but it hadn't rained for a month in England, so it was like rock hard, and I just landed funny. It was like this high off the ground.
So would you consider yourself fragile?
Yeah, I have a very like low pain tolerance. Like when people punch you, there's a joke. They do that to me, and I go stop because I hate it.
That's weird because you said you'd beat up Logan Paul.
Oh, that was I like to just threaten.
Oh, okay. How come you haven't threatened us? I kind of feel offended.
I've had no need to threaten you, but you've been so pleasant.
Oh, I would have liked it. It would have been cool.
Well, I just can't. Maybe if you really aggravate me, I
Okay,
could
fine.
start threatening. But
All
I
right,
was a younger boy then, I was just threatening everyone all the time, and now I understand that I will
Eventually
beat
get in a
up.
fight.
Yeah. So
And then the other collarbone is at risk.
Yeah,
and-
because of my low pain tolerance and sepsis, and balls. And then, nothing else really major happened until
Well, you were hospitalized for the polydipsia.
that. I think that was post sepsis, pre collarbone.
Okay.
And then there was my balls. That was like 2 months ago.
Is that how you refer to them generally?
Yeah, so I woke up one morning at 8 a.m. And, in YouTuber land in Brighton, everyone else gets up at 1 p.m. So this is everyone else's equivalent, like 5 a.m.
Wow.
And I woke up and I went, something's off.
Oh, instant.
Yeah, and I moved. I sleep naked because as all great men do.
Is that true?
Yes,
Why?
because it's comfier.
Oh, like more circulation of air?
Well, I've never deeped it, but I suppose there is more air down there.
Okay, fair.
And then I sort of moved, and I went, "Oh, something off," and I moved and went. It was so painful. I didn't scream. I just sort of went,
And the pain was in the testicular area.
"Yeah, oh yeah, it was." And I went, "Oh God!" And then I went, "Hang on, is it my balls?" And then I touched my balls and went like that.
What's going through your mind in that moment?
Pain, primarily.
But are you worried? Are you like,
I think it only lasted about a minute.
oh, and then
but-
it resolved?
Well, it lasted about a minute, and I was like, "Oh my God, this is horrible." It was really probably the most painful thing I've ever had. And then it sort of slowed down, and I Googled what happens if your balls feel intense pain, and I went, and it was basically said bad, and I went shit. So I rang at 111, which isn't in England. There's 911, which is 999 here. No,
The other way around, I think.
other way around. And then in England, there's 111, which is like, hey, I think something's up. I'm going to ask you. Because we have the
They
NHS.
have that. That's
'cause we're-
cool.
Yeah, so 909 is like, give me the ambulance, I'm dying. And then 111 is like, help. And it's always available. So I ring up 111. I go, hey, is this all right? And they go, absolutely not. And I go, oh, all right then.
Were you living with your parents at the time?
So this is the thing. No, everyone was out, and I was just living by myself. It was only 2 months ago. I moved out when I was 17, and I was like, "Oh my God, oh okay, this is my first step of like
Adulthood.
any other time. I'd ring my girlfriend and wake up my room.
Oh my God. I'm not getting that. What is the other one? Should we evacuate?
It just says earthquake, remain indoors."
Well, we're not going anywhere.
Okay, so I ring them. They go, "This is bad." And I go, "All right." So I make myself some eggs, and it's
Wait, you're making eggs while
well, I'm moving very slowly, and I'm really hungry, and I was like, "I'm gonna go to the hospital, but I'm well hungry."
you weren't nauseous.
No, but I was moving quite slowly.
Gingerly,
So I do that, then I get an Uber to the hospital.
Before you go to the hospital,
It's really calmed down in the next
Oh,
couple of
it
minutes.
can't-
It still hurts, but I'm like, okay, it's calmed
something's there. If you had to call only one YouTuber, who would you call in that moment?
down. Oh, probably, I'm trying to think who lives closest to me.
So it would be a proximity thing, not who's going to give the best advice. You wouldn't call
Mike.
Logan Paul.
I love you, but what YouTuber's going to give me advice when I'm having testicular torsion?
My guy, you told me the best advice you got was from Logan Paul.
Yeah, not about testicles. I
About
wasn't asking him ball advice.
Life, testicles. Life, testicles.
Are you on drugs? I tell you what, before, I probably would have gone Dr. Mike, the doctor YouTuber. And now I'm even doubting that.
Why?
Because you just...
You got life advice from Logan Paul, who
Yes.
you assumed and said yourself that that's a weird person to say that they're giving the best advice.
Sure.
And now you're saying I would never call him for testicle advice.
Yes.
Interesting.
Because life advice
And testicle advice.
isn't medical. He wasn't giving me medical life advice.
Got
He was
it.
giving me more sort of slight guidance.
Fair.
I'm going to retract what I said earlier about not challenging to fight you, Mike. Because you just... I'm going to pretend that didn't happen.
Fair.
I'm going to move on.
All right, so you're not calling Logan Paul.
I'm not calling any YouTuber. I'm calling a ambulance.
Okay.
So I ring
You
up.
did it. You made some eggs. I
So
question all of your decisions.
Yeah, because I was hungry.
Yeah,
And
that's
okay,
weird.
It calmed down. It calmed down by this point. And so I had my 2 minutes of pain. I put on some joggers. It probably was these joggers, actually. And then I sort of made a few eggs, went to the thing. I think they said something like, I remember now, like, don't eat once you get to the hospital. So I was like, oh, well, I'm really hungry, so I'm just going to scrounge a bit now. Made some eggs, ate them. And, not poached or anything, just sunny side up, easy to make eggs.
So you went quick.
Yeah, I wasn't putting herbs on them. It was just eggs.
Do you
Mike.
normally do that?
No, to be fair, no, I don't. And I should, because I have the herbs just there, but I always just rush. I'm always just so hungry.
Okay, so you got to the hospital.
That's another problem, isn't it?
What's that?
That I don't cook eggs very well.
Well, I find it ironic that when your testicles hurt, you made eggs.
Why?
You failed to see the connection on that one?
Oh, I see. Oh, that's cruel. I've put it together in my head now. Well, that's horrible.
That's the medical mind in me. All right, so you get to the A&E, as they call it.
I get to A&E.
Why
Well,
is it
I
called
get
A&E?
to just the hospital, accident and emergency.
Oh.
Yeah.
Teaching me?
I think. And then I get to the hospital and I go, hey, here's what's happened. And I sort of start at the bottom of the ranks of the hospital and make my way to the top. So I go, hey, this has happened. And they go, why are you sat in reception for an hour? And I go, well, I don't know. Because here's the thing about British people, we love queuing. I just sort of sit in a line like in intense pain. And they go, why are you sat here? And I go, oh, all right. She goes, see this doctor now. And I go, oh, all right. So I go sit outside for a bit longer. Like that, and then they call me in. And he goes, right then, Tom, let's have a fiddle.
Did he fiddle first, or
He goes, what's happened? So this was the second time telling me. They go, it's the balls, and then he goes, all right, let's have a little fiddle. He has a little fiddle. I go, and then he says, right, look, kid, probably fine now. Seems like they've temporarily untwisted, but this means you're prone to twisting, and if it has twisted, your balls, your right testicle, could be dying. And I go, hang on, mate. When was the death of balls on the tape? When was that even possible? And he goes, it's possible. It's possible from a twist. Your balls can die, can't they?
yeah,
You know.
it's a sad situation called
You're telling
testicular
me?
torsion.
Yeah, and he goes, look, mate, you've been torsioned, and I'm worried that your ball is dying right now, and we need to save it. And at this point, part of my brain thinks, well, this has gotten a lot more exciting, and the other part thinks, bollocks, I'm not going to have it
At any
anymore.
point, did you think you should vlog?
No, I think I wrote a diary entry going, hey, this isn't good. That's what I do when it's not time to vlog, but I need to get my thoughts down.
Oh, okay.
I thought, hey, guy, just letting you know, I'll see if I still have it.
Oh, that'll be good. Was it a letter to your testicle?
I wrote, Tom Simons in the GP. Hello. Woke up this morning with excruciating right ball pain. And now? And then it was a dash. Oops, just got called into the little room where they see me. They said I got to see a GP. Ugh, good it's getting sorted though. Just hope I get home in time for therapy. Otherwise, the day will have been interrupted. This is terrible. That was the extent of my diary entry. That's all I felt the need to write down.
And then you were sedated and going for surgery?
Yeah, I think I have a photo of me. I think it attached with it. It's pretty good.
You look quite happy.
Yeah, well, you got to see the joy in things, don't you? That's what you said.
He told you that, it's a problem.
He says,
wears
your
a-
balls might be dying. Here's what
Yeah.
we're going to do. We don't have a ball department here, so we're going to send you up in an ambulance to Haywards Heath Hospital, which is 40 minutes away. And I go, you're taking the... All right. So he goes, we're going to put you in an ambulance. And I'm getting a bit of imposter syndrome here, thinking, really? Put little old me in an ambulance just because balls? He says, yeah. And so I go, all right. And I get in...
Are your parents with you at this point? Or you
No,
don't
it's
call
still
them?
quite early in the morning, so I'm sort of the only one awake, and I'm sort of like, oh, okay, guess I'm on my own.
Wow.
Solo mission. So I go up, get in this ambulance, I have a chat with this driver for ages, and I'm sort of like, because he goes, I might have to do like emergency surgery today, and I'm like, oh, I've never had surgery before, I don't really want that. So I'm in this ambulance for a while, and I have a chat with this ambulance guy who's sort of just like chilling, and we have a long chat about Scorsese. Because I was telling him that I was showing Scorsese. I was trying to remain quite calm. So we have a long chat. I tell him a bit about YouTube and shit. And then I get to this new place. They send me up to see the ball doctor. And then the ball doctor, and I go in this room. There's a woman. She goes, look, mate, we're going to have to do an ultrasound of your balls. And I go, all right. And then I realise what that means. So...
What is it? What did it
Well,
mean?
she puts all the ultrasound jelly on
Yeah.
my balls and she starts prodding around. And I'm thinking, can my life get any worse? Turns out it can. And then 2 more guys enter the room and they go, oh, mate, what's happened? And for the 8th time this morning, I'm explaining to them the story that I woke up at 8 a.m., made my eggs. I go, why'd you make the eggs? Like, I don't know at this point. And then they go, all right, let's have a look. And I go, they have a little fiddle and then they go. And then as she's doing the ultrasound, it's huge, on a quite remarkably large screen like this, from like there to there, a huge image of my testicles starts showing, of the insides of my testicles, which to this moment prior I've never seen. And all of these sort of doctors are stood around like this, staring at this big image of my balls. And I burst out laughing because this is all gone too funny now, because there's all these people stood staring at the insides of my balls on a huge monitor thinking, I just thought this is ridiculous. And that is when I started vlogging and I started filming that, because I thought this is intensely amusing. And they all looked at me quite like that, and I thought, oh, all right. So I stopped vlogging. But I have about 10 seconds of footage on my phone.
Wow, okay.
I'm more
Of
than
them
happy to show
looking
you.
at their testicle.
Yeah.
And what conclusion did they draw
And
from
he goes,
looking at your giant testicle?
Look, and the medical conclusion, look, your ball hasn't died. However, your right ball's slightly bigger. That was the first thing. I thought, brilliant. And then he goes, but you are, I was just that wasn't even necessary for the story. I just thought I'd brag.
Yeah.
And then they go, yeah, so you're actually prone to, you have a dodgy spermal canal, and you're more prone to testicular torsion. And I go, well, this isn't good, is it? Because I'm going on tour. And he goes, right, well, what we need to do is give you a bit of surgery. And I go, oh, shit.
Probably to lock that testicle
To lock
in place.
that testicle. So I go, oh, great, all right. So then a few months go by, and I go
Well,
in.
how was the surgery? Oh, you waited.
Yeah, so a few months go by, England. So a few months go by, and then they go, I go in, sort of the pre-op of the surgery, where they get this. They have the guy that's going to do the surgery has another fiddle, and then they explain to me what it is. So I go in, and he has another fiddle. Another guy now, and he explains to me, gone up, made the eggs.
Yeah.
And then he goes, so here's what we're going to do. We're going to fix your balls, really easy surgery, 30 minutes long. And I go, oh, great. And then, Dr. Mike, I made the worst decision I have ever made in my life to this point.
More so than drinking all that water.
As I look at this doctor and go, yeah, but what actually is the surgery?
Oh.
And I won't use words to describe this, but he goes, and he sort of
Motions.
and he uses words. Now, Mike, to admit to you, I get very panicky about body stuff, especially with arseholes, but also, as I found out, with balls. So I go outside and I am now really freaking out. When I get really overwhelmed by body horror stuff, I have to start taking off my clothes to cool down. So I'm sort of in a t-shirt in winter, pacing around. Now on the phone to my parents going, parent, I'm really worried about my balls. And they go, what? But I am, and so I'm pacing around like nearly having a breakdown. Like I can't do this. And so I really start imagining I'm like a Pokemon going into the Pokemon Center. They're going to heal me, but I'm really freaking out. And I go home and I calm down, and my mum goes, if you think about giving birth, that's horrible. So just don't think about it. So I go, okay. And then finally, the day for surgery comes around. And I'd just been to the June 2 premiere last night, so we go. And is this what I'm not been rambling for too long, have I?
No, I like this.
Oh, okay.
I like the detail.
Thank you. I really am really going into excruciating, and then you can analyze. I'm excited. So I go to this. At this point, I go private for the hospital because I need to get the surgery before tour. I won't be able to do the tour.
Billionaire.
Never going to let down the guys. Also, I'm a billionaire, incredibly rich. So I go, okay, we'll go. I'll try to stay humble too.
I love that you said shout out NHS and then I went private.
Shout out NHS until,
Until I actually need something.
Until no. The NHS.
Clip it!
They healed my sepsis. They healed my collarbone. But the balls were just going to be too precise of a surgery.
Fair.
So then I go. Sorry, I can just hear the police sirens outside.
They're coming for the balls.
Oh, okay, I wouldn't want that. I go in and I sit with my dad for a few hours and say, can't eat any food or anything. So guess what I have that morning?
Eggs.
Yeah.
You love your eggs.
I do. They're very filling. I really needed them. And so they go, right, surgery day. And I'm really panicking because I don't like this sort of thing. And then they, they sort of come in and like over hours go by. It's like 4 hours till the surgery. I'm sat starving. Can't drink water as well. It's really bad. And finally, they send me away from my dad, and I'm going upstairs. I'm like shuddering like a dog in a vet, like freaking out. And I go upstairs, and there's these 3 doctors who are lovely. And they go, right, we're going to put you under. They lie me on the thing, and I'm saying that I've slightly got my balls out. And then because I'm really panicking, I start going, whenever I'm panicking, I think about Star Wars. I think about, and it turns out all these doctors are also really into Star Wars. They're like 40, 50-year-olds. So we all start having a big conversation about Star Wars. Now, up to this point, there's been this really serious doctor who came downstairs to me earlier. He told me when they put the thing in and tried to send me to sleep, they're going to do that. And I said, if I really wanted to, could I try and stay awake? And he went, you can try, but you will fail. And I went, now. So this really serious doctor is the serious doctor and these 2. And 2 of them, we started having a big conversation about Star Wars while I'm sort of lying on a bed with my testicles out. One of them, the doctors, no offense to him, has quite a large bogey there. Oh. And to this point, I still worried that didn't drop out and fall.
Well, they have a mask for the surgery.
That's true. Yeah, that's true. That convinced me a lot.
But I am
but
sure
that was not the nicest.
Because you're like, if he's doing that, what else is he doing?
That was not the nicest last thing to see. So finally they go, oh yeah, and I love the prequels. And the really serious doctor turns around and goes, you love the prequels? Padawan Menace almost ruined the law. And when he's having this really intense, I'm like, I almost entirely forgot about the surgery. And while he's doing this, he's so into the prequels, he sort of puts the thing in and he goes, oh, by the way, I've put in the sleep serum. And I go, what the f? And then as he goes, count down from 10, I go, but I'm invested in the Padawan. And I fall asleep. And then I wake up.
First thing you remember is?
I'm in this room with a load of doctors, and I just start telling jokes. And they're all laughing, but I can't remember what I said. and to this day, I'm still a bit worried.
Sure.
But yeah, I say some shite, and then I come downstairs, and I'm very like that. And then for the next day, whenever I move, it feels like I'm getting punched in the balls. That was horrible.
That's not a fun
Then I have another 2 days of rest, and then the tour rehearsals start. So it really wasn't that long ago.
Wow.
It was about a month and a week ago.
Wow. Did you have to wear supportive underwear?
Oh, yeah, I did. I had to wear my jock strap, and it was not nice. But it did feel like I was always getting a little hug. Yeah.
That's interesting. I've never heard it described as such.
No. So what, there's my ball story for you.
That's
in more depth
so we
and clarity
saved
than I've ever
the
told
right
it.
testicle, the bigger testicle.
Bigger, yeah.
And I'll tell you some fun facts about testicular torsion.
Thank you so much.
Because it most commonly happens in those aged 12 to 18.
That's good.
Yeah, like 65% of the cases.
My other young bros, we're in the boat together.
And the reason why we suspect that it happens that way is because during puberty, the testicles gain weight. And when they gain weight,
they
can twist.
Me.
And actually, there's some people,
Some
I don't know
balls.
if they, do they, you got one fat ball.
I got one really fat ball.
But now it's locked in.
Yeah, now
So
it's fine.
It's a good
loads
ball.
of weight.
Yeah. There's actually a deformity that can happen that predisposes folks to having testicular torsion called a bell clapper deformity.
You wouldn't feel that bad for anyone that had a bell clapper, would you? Do you know what I mean? Stupid.
They didn't tell you that you had that.
No, I don't have the bell clapper.
Okay, good.
I wouldn't be on this podcast if I had the bell clapper. I wouldn't have the honor to discuss my bell clapper.
Well, honestly, the bell clapper deformity is just the testicle kind of lies horizontally, so that makes it more likely. Like its attachment isn't great.
So it's fun.
Yeah, it's kind of a fun, unique.
Kind of a fun,
but not if you get
horrible,
testicular torsion.
Painful, unique thing.
Yeah. So, and the reason they do the ultrasound is to see if there's blood flow going to the testicle.
Yeah.
And the testicle, the reason why it dies is because when the testicle wraps itself around the vein, it starts getting swollen, edematous. That cuts off arterial blood supply and it chokes itself out. So that's why we consider testicular torsion or pain in the testicle, especially in a young person of your age, an emergency. And that's why 111 told you to call 999.
It was not. I'm glad they did. I felt very seen.
I wish they didn't tell you to eat, or I wish they told you not to eat.
They did tell me.
Oh, they did. But you were like, I still want eggs.
No, that's why I had the eggs, because once you get to the hospital, you can't eat.
Oh, got it.
So then,
do you know why they tell you not to eat?
Because surgery, shit yourself in it. Is that not why? Is that not? Is that? I sort of assumed that was smart.
You judged me for the Logan Paul ball thing.
Is that not why? Because in surgery, you shit yourself.
And
I don't know. I'm not a doctor.
But what's like if you shit yourself? What?
There's poo in there. It's not nice.
I mean, and you think they take it that seriously? They're like 8 hours. God forbid you shit yourself.
Okay, well, why don't they want me to eat then?
Because
bit of gross poo. Now I'm saying it out loud to you. I am like, that is possibly slightly irrational.
Because when you have something in your stomach right before the surgery, when you're asleep, you can't protect your airway. Therefore, if you vomit, you could actually have the vomit enter into the lungs.
Because that's how she
creating a
dies
big
in Breaking
problem.
Bad, isn't it?
I don't know.
Oh, okay.
Sorry.
Well, sorry.
I watched like seasons 1 through 3.
Spoiler for you there, about Jane, but sorry.
Is that your favorite show?
No.
What's your favorite show? All time.
Probably.
I mean, all time.
The Office, US, Community, or Arrested Development.
Okay.
But back, yeah.
Both shows that I haven't really
Back to the balls.
Yeah, back to the balls. Wow. So, okay, so your balls twisted. They untwisted themselves. That's pretty impressive. Actually, in areas where they don't have emergency surgery available,
Yeah.
urologists, which you
I
aptly
saw.
named ball
Yeah.
doctor,
Sure.
they can actually do some techniques to unwind the ball. So did they do that for you?
No, thank God they did.
So it just self-unwound, unwound.
Yeah. I'm just up there with that level. Yeah, I was thinking really hard about Mr. Beast's advice, and then my ball unwound.
That's
So yeah,
that's a good way to put it.
thank you.
Okay, so you're going to do your tour today. You have 2 functional balls. And by the way, if your testicle did wrap around and for whatever reason, either during surgery or it was a longer period of time, because after like 24 hours, even if you unwind it surgically, there's like only 10 to 20%, 0 to 20% chance that testicle is still functional. So there's a world where they take the testicle out. And even if they do, you're still good.
Yeah,
You could live with 1 testicle.
can I have babies?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, but I like them both.
I'm not encouraging
Johnny
you to
and
take one
Steve.
out. Oh, you named them.
Yeah.
Which one was
Just
the big
now,
one?
actually, Steve.
Why?
Oh man, it's just a big name, isn't it?
Is it?
Steve.
Kind of seems mid.
Have you played Minecraft?
No.
Well, the main guy's called Steve.
Tell me about Minecraft. What's Minecraft?
It's a huge variety on this podcast, isn't there? We go from balls to Minecraft to balls. What's Minecraft?
Yeah. So I'll give you my knowledge of Minecraft and then you'll educate me because
Okay.
I've educated you a little bit on torsion.
Sure.
What is the main reason that 12 to 18-year-olds get
Let me throw a question
torsion?
back at you
Okay.
before we talk about Minecraft.
Okay.
All right. I don't like butt stuff.
You don't like.
Thinking about arseholes really freaks me out.
Why does. Oh, butt stuff.
Yeah.
Okay. Why does it freak you out?
Because one time, and I've never seen one, someone described to me what an anal prolapse is, and it's freaked me out badly since.
Interesting. Is that have to do with what's his name, Howie Mandel, when he posted
I
that
didn't
thing?
see that video,
okay.
no.
But you're aware of it?
I am aware, and I didn't see it. It was when I was in school. But I still, to this day, and I usually get very panicky about ball stuff, but then the surgery happened, and I'm no longer panicky about it.
But the butt stuff you are.
Yeah, it really does. The other day, we were on the
Well,
tour
the
bus
stuff
and-
happens with it. You can get a anal fissure, you can get a hemorrhoid, you can get a thrombosed hemorrhoid, which could be quite painful, lots of blood.
What?
Yeah.
You don't... Okay, just thought
But what was the question? You said you were going to ask me a question.
I was just going to ask how I can get over my fear. But then you made me more fearful.
Okay.
So now I feel
way we-
like you might have been the worst person to ask about this.
The way we move away from phobias is through desensitization, where we start with just saying the word butt, and then we get you
I'm
comfortable
not scared
with that.
of the word butt.
Cool. What if I show you a picture of a butt? Not the anus, just the buttock.
That would be fine.
Okay. Then I'll ask you to hold the picture. We'll see.
Okay.
And you see, we just stepwise get to
yeah.
the point where you feel comfortable.
And then you're going to show me an anal prolapse.
That's boss level.
Yeah, okay.
I don't know what bosses are in Minecraft, but I was going to make
That's
the
the Ender
Minecraft.
Dragon. So the
What,
Ender
the what
Dragon?
dragon?
The Ender Dragon is the anal prolapse. And then the... Oh no. This is terrible. Okay, so the Ender Dragon is the anal prolapse. and
Were
then,
you confused when we reached out to have you on the podcast?
I'm currently confused,
Okay.
yeah. So the Ender Dragon is the anal prolapse, and then the
Is there a mid boss? Because that could be the, testicle.
the wither.
that could be
wither.
Steve.
No, the wither. The wither.
But
is
what
the
about
boss.
the Steve?
Steve is who you play as.
Ah.
You are Steve, yeah. So the wither would be like an asshole, like the actual hole itself.
And then it becomes the endo dragon.
Ender Dragon, yeah,
Ender
which
dragon.
would be the. I just really wish I wasn't so freaked out about it, but that is a good. Yeah.
Well, now you could think about it as a Minecraft thing, and maybe that takes some fear away.
Yeah.
Besides the anal prolapse thing, what is your therapist and you? What was your major discovery?
Oh, that's so many. Therapy's been sick for me.
Yeah.
About anxiety, about mental health, about how people work, about communicating, about
Let's
human
do something
condition.
very targeted because we're limited on time. If you had to go back to yourself pre-therapy, so in September 2021, you're talking to yourself, you're anxious, and you did it. You were a disbeliever in therapy at the time because you said, "Why do I need that?
Well,
I
it
can't
wasn't
believe
even disbeliever. I just didn't think I
needed it."
Yeah.
Yeah. What would you tell yourself right now at that point? Pretend I'm you.
Get therapy.
Why? Sell me on it.
Why? I think it'll make you a lot happier. To me, the best description I have of therapy is imagine you have your problems and then there's just layers and layers and layers of like dirt and shit on top of them. Therapy cleans away all of that dirt. So you still have your problems, still there, and there's still problems, but you can actually look at them clearly and begin to solve them and put in effort. And I love solving problems. As opposed to just sort of worrying around doing stupid shit because you're anxious.
That's really a
that's what I
really
would
good
say.
picture.
So I think
I
it's
wouldn't
really
use that
helpful.
with my patients.
Huh?
I wouldn't use that with
No, fair, but
yeah.
I guess they're not. Are they mental
they're
health
not
patients?
they're not
or-
worried about anal problems.
Yeah, no, sure.
Okay, so
They're
you got
not.
that takeaway. You learned that therapy is very useful.
Yeah.
What strategies did you learn that work well for you?
There's a sick one called like the wheel, where apparently there's like 10 things in it that make up your life. So there's like your relationships, there's like intimate relationships, friendships, family, physical environment, relationship with yourself, exercise. Can't remember the rest, but it's 10. And you go through them and you go 1 to 10, how you feel about it, like instinctively right now. So sometimes it'll be like a 10 and a 6, sometimes it'll be like a 4. And then you do that and it suddenly becomes clear, oh, okay, the reason I'm miserable isn't because I'm terribly anxious about this one thing and I've been sat thinking about this for 10 hours. It's because I haven't gone on a walk for 2 days.
So it allows you to zoom out,
Yeah, it gives you
a
perspective.
holistic picture.
And that's all I really want, I think, is perspective. Because I think it's the best thing you can get from stuff.
Do you ever do any of like the 3 positive things at night or any of these like gratitude letters?
No, I've heard about them. I've tried it. And I've been like,
But you prefer the more zoom out perspective, rational thinking.
I don't have a massive problem with. I think I'm quite grateful, generally. I think because I'm around my parents and all of my mates. You know, my best mate lives 45 seconds away from me, and growing up, he lived 45 seconds away from me. My roommate is my mate from school when I was 12, who I've known since I was like 4. We became mates in school because we just kept having to sit next to each other. Like my girlfriend, I just met in Brighton. She's not like an internet, but like. My parents are still like I don't really struggle with being grounded or gratefulness because all the people around me are just keep me in check.
That's awesome.
So
No, that's good that they keep you humble.
Yeah, they do. Bastards. But yeah, I think I'm more sort of how to deal with like anxiety and relationships and like not, going in a direction I don't want to go.
Yeah, it's better to have control. I would say that's a good way to put
that's a
therapy.
sick way to put it, isn't it? And I think learning that anxiety is when things are out of your own needs or when you're not feeling in control was really helpful. Because you can go, hang on, what shit do I actually need to do? I think it's made me a much more balanced person. Because I remember in COVID, I would, some days I'd wake up and check my daily sub count that day, and if it wasn't 10,000 or above, I'd feel depressed that day. And now the idea of doing that is like, what the and some of the advice I would give 15, 16-year-old me is like mental. Now I look back and I'm like, man, go on a walk, like go sit in a field and get drunk, like be happy, like.
Do you think success in terms of subs, finances, does that drive happiness?
I think money can potentially open up a more opportunity for stuff, but I don't think for me and my lifestyle and who I want to be, it does. No, I think personal like fulfillment does. So things that I want to do that mean a lot to me, really, really do. And it's been difficult sort of recognizing as that changes over the years. Like I've never watched back my Colin and Samir interview because I'm just like, I was like so obsessed with YouTube at the time. And now I'm like, oh, shut up. I'm just not. I still think it's sick that people are, but it's just not me anymore. I can't watch it back because I'm so intense. I'm like just.
But that's good. Why are you judging yourself so harshly in that?
I just.
Like you're gonna have phases in your life where you're excited about one thing. You
true.
might look back 10 years from now and be like, "Why was I so obsessed with stand-up comedy?"
Oh yeah, but it's making people laugh, isn't it? No, you are right. I guess I'm a bit hard on myself. It's probably one of my flaws.
Why do you think you're hard on yourself?
I think Why do I think I'm hard on myself? I don't really know. I think I've always been very like happy with where I am and wanting to go further, and very aware of the situation that I'm in and how brilliant it is. And so I've always just wanted to keep like pushing myself and keep doing as good as I can. But I sometimes forget to. I've just sort of lose perspective about anything. So I sort of get in my own little world where there's only sort of me in it, and I forget that like I can slow down a little bit, or that. I don't know. Does that make sense? Like I just sort of lose perspective. I don't think I have much perspective.
You're young. You gotta give yourself some credit.
I forget that. I don't think I'm very good at giving myself credit. But I just sort of get very zoned in on a thing and then forget to give myself any credit about anything. But also like over the past few years, I've gone like intensely into movies, and I go to the cinema like 2 times a week and watch a film, and that is. To me, that is like my religion. Like I just love films. It gives me like such an understanding of perspective and the human condition and the world and everything. I think I'm saying that right, human condition. But that has really helped me watching loads of films.
I mean,
good films.
In giving yourself credit. I mean, even watching bad films, I think there's value in that. Of knowing what not to do.
There really is. Yeah, there really is. Because even the worst films, someone's had to spend so much time on and effort and love.
Exactly.
Like someone loved it.
I think you have to give yourself credit. You've experienced a lot at such a young age. Throughout the whole process, you managed to stay grounded. You have a good support system. Your close friends are still your close friends. Your family's still your family. It's very easy to go the child star route and think you're better than everyone. Throw your parents' advice away and say, I know better. Look how successful I am. I make more than you. These things happen. This is the reality of things.
To be fair, I am better than everyone.
Mostly at Minecraft.
No, joking. Yeah, joking. Sorry, go on.
And it's true that you've had that journey and you've grown a lot from it. I mean, just getting piled on by millions of people is hard. You've even gone through difficult moments. I know you were pretty close with Technoblade and going through that. Was that a moment of growth or changing perspectives?
Yeah. Yeah, that wasn't great.
Yeah. How was that?
Yeah, that was very tough. Like, because I sort of suddenly was like, oh, this is. I think when you grow up, things sort of in a bit of a bubble of like, this is all fine and we'll always stay like this. And then someone dies and you go, oh, bollocks. I think that's made me a lot less upbeat about the world.
Really?
Yes.
How so? As a person who does comedy, it's hard to see you as not upbeat.
I think a lot of comedy is not upbeat. I think a lot of comedy comes from. I've found I'm usually the funniest when I'm the most miserable, which is a horrible thing to think. But it's usually when you want to make people laugh the most because you're just not feeling it yourself. And the more I've sort of found that in stand-up comedy, I'm like, yeah, I've wrote so much stand-up comedy about that because it's such a strong feeling I have. But yeah, I find. Sorry, what was your question?
About you not being upbeat after the Technoblade situation.
Yeah, you sort of live in the world, and I've had like grandparents die, like dogs die of old age, and then when someone dies and they're just like not meant to, and he's like, it doesn't make any sense, and I can't, like, there's no reason to it. I don't get it. Was just like, oh, okay, I'm gonna die. This is like, he can't make any more YouTube videos, he can't do anything. So that really made me go, oh, this. I'm just gonna get on with it.
Pedal to the metal?
No, yeah, I don't know. I think it's still really altering my perspective. I'm not really talked about it in this sort of way, but like, yeah, I just think that was, I don't know, I think at such a young age to sort of go through that. Like my mum's like 40 and she's watched people die, but never anyone sort of before their time. So I think that was quite a monumental experience to go through at my age. And yeah, it's still really shit. It's still really hard. Like sometimes I wake up and be like, oh, that's happened. Like I don't think I've really got it around my head properly because it is just. I met his dad it's quite fresh at the moment because I met his dad and like saw the room where he passed and stuff, and that was like, because I never met him, so that was like, oh, now he was just like, because to me Technoblade was a Minecraft YouTuber I always looked up to and was my mate, and as it's called Discord and sick of Minecraft, then you see his room and you're like, oh my god,
this is real.
He was just a kid like me with the same family, and I just was like heartbreaking. So yeah, it just makes you realise that the world's really like, it made me realise, okay, this is not fair. I'm going to make the most out of this because there's no, these sort of rules that you put in place of like, yeah, you know what, like, I got here because of this and there's a sig. So it was just like, okay, no, everyone's just trying to get by. Yeah. I don't know. It's probably not the most upbeat.
I mean,
You
it
know,
doesn't
I don't-
have to be. It's life. Like
Yeah.
you said, this podcast has a lot of variety to it because life has a lot of variety
Yeah,
to
yeah.
it. So I think that makes it more real.
Yeah, yeah.
How'd you meet his dad? How did that?
His dad made a video about him, and then he used Techno's Discord account to reach out to his close friends. And I wanted to. I didn't even think I didn't even know if his dad would reach out to any of us after the video, and I was really just wanted to say like one word thanking him, and then he did reach out, and I sort of helped him through some stuff, and then we became really really close friends, and we speak quite a lot. And then he's does YouTube now, and I help him a bit with that, but he's just one of the like best people ever. Like I look up to him so much.
Yeah, it really puts things into perspective for you when you experience such a heavy loss at an unexpected time. That makes it worse.
Yeah,
It's like a punch you don't see coming.
yeah, it's like more than a punch. Like you sort of think you've gone. I think this is it. You sort of think you've gone through punches in your life, and you sort of think that you've gone through shit, and then something like that happens. You go, oh no. And I remember as well. To link back to live performing, the day. So I found out Techno had died, and then like 3 days went by, and then it was my first ever show in front of 2,000 people, and I was like, it was the morning of the show. 8 hours before the video came out that you've probably seen where it was like he's died. It's like the most heartbreaking video. First time I saw his dad, it was like the hardest morning ever, and I was like, I might want to cancel tonight. I just don't know if I can do this. And I sort of pulled myself through, listened to a bit of Bruce Springsteen, was like, okay, come on. And then I really locked in, and that doing I think on doing that first show on that first day, and when you're on stage, forget about it all. And being like, oh my God, this is like the worst day ever. And I'm still up on stage being funny because this is sick. That kind of really cemented my love for live performing as well. In a way that I don't always get with YouTube. Like I love being in the editing software and love doing that. But yeah, something about that was like, okay, this is amazing. This is like, I'm having quite literally the worst day of my life. And yet still here I am and I feel amazing for this 2 hours. Just like imagine a world where that hasn't just happened. But yeah, man, it's shit.
Yeah. You strike me as a very old soul, despite your young age of 19. You're talking about Bruce Springsteen. You're talking about...
That is my dad's fault. Bruce Springsteen, yeah.
I could see your parents' influence is quite heavy
Oh
on
man,
you.
yeah. And I don't think I'll be doing any of this about my parents' influences still to this day. And I work loads with my dad and my mum. Like all my stand up, I speak about my dad, no matter how crude it is. And my mum helps me loads with my stuff. And she's out on the tour with me right now. Sort of just came by to come to loads of shows. I'm very, very. Well, I'm an only child, and I'm very close to my parents. So, but yeah, I don't know. I think you're talking about YouTube advice, trying to get perspective. Like that really gave me it. Having him die.
Like real life is going to give you better YouTube advice, right?
Yeah. It's a sad way to think of. Yeah,
I mean, it's true. Like a lot of people say, like,
True,
what
innit?
can I do to make my success better on YouTube or something? My advice usually to folks is like live in
have
real
a
life.
friend die of cancer.
Well, that's unfortunately that's what living life means. Living life means
you're right.
trying stuff, failing, having loss, experiencing fun, experiencing highs, experiencing lows, and then you could bring that to the art, to the camera, to the YouTube.
Yeah.
Because without it, what are you, right?
Yeah.
I feel like people on social media that get instant success oftentimes struggle with that identity of like,
Yeah.
who am I? Why am I successful? Especially if the
Definitely helped
views
me with a lot
fade.
of- yeah, and it really threw me for like a year. I felt really, really lost after Techno died in my work and like everything. But I think over this past sort of 6-7 months has really sort of been my first time since where I felt that same sort of. I always like work hard, like always, because I'm just from Nottingham, so I just burned into me and my parents. But like, I felt the same sort of like passion and like love and holy shit that I've had since he died. So, and I was sort of like a bit lost just before he died, and then that really sent me. And now I feel like focused for the first time and like fulfilled and shit.
Well, it's great that you keep him alive in your memory. That's all we could really ask for about ourselves. So.
No, I do. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah, he's a good lad.
Yeah. Well, I want to say we should do a part 2 the next time something goes wrong medically.
I'd love to.
Yeah. And I'll do some research on anal prolapse phobias.
You don't have to.
And maybe next time you can give me some advice about Minecraft because I'd love to learn more.
Yeah,
I still don't
sure.
understand
And
what
I'd love
Minecraft
to
is.
Get over anal prolapse phobias.
Yeah. So how about this next podcast?
Next podcast,
I'll help you get over that.
I'll be going around prolapsing all the time.
Yes, and
you'll be
I
playing
will
Minecraft.
Minecraft.
Yeah,
Yeah.
so it'll be great, won't it?
So perfect.
All right.
All right.
Well, thank you, seriously, man.
Yeah.
So much for having me. This has been really fun.
Yeah.
Can I plug my tour?
Please.
Okay,
But
well-
this will probably come out after your tour, so plug the next tour.
Oh, really?
Yeah.
When does this come out?
In a month.
Oh, okay. Well, maybe you can come to Cincinnati or Cleveland in a month at tommyinit.com, maybe. But if you're in the UK, I'm probably going to do some stand-up shows over the next few years, so come to those. Yeah, YouTube channel's Tommy Innit. So.
But he's not really
Yeah.
passionate about it.
I do.
He's like the YouTube
I
channel.
still love my YouTube channel. I do really love YouTube.
All right, good work.
Dude, thank you so much.
Yes. I know nothing about Minecraft, but I actually tried playing it here. Click here to check that out. And as always, stay happy and healthy.